Welcome, here we are, video 15 of the KFA Explorer build series. So I'm currently at home right now because there's no need for me to be at the workshop. I thought I'd break it up a little bit and kill the complacency and not spend so much time there, because it does get old, to tell you, it's tiring. So the reason I can do a bit of stuff at home is because now I'm up to, the flat out covering stage, meaning I need to do some stitching. Now, I've brought my rudder home today. And I brought my stitching needle and the rib lacing. I've already done the reinforcing tapes across the areas that need to be stitched. So I picked a relaxing spot up on my balcony. Here's the rudder. So you can see all the little holes in it that I burnt at the workshop. So now it's basically time to start the knot to anchor it, and then lace this thing up. Be another thing checked off the list. Okay, so rudder's here standing up. That stitching that I was doing, there it is, all finished off. As easy as that. It's just a matter of getting, YouTube out or the poly fiber instruction manual and executing it. Follow the instructions and you'll be right. Anyway, I'm going to get busy, finish all this off so I can keep putting out more progression. Okay, so this video is consisting of rib stitching. It's meant to be the big scary part of covering, and I can assure you it's really not. So to do rib stitching, the best way to learn is off YouTube. Reading it off a manual I find is just too hard. It's a lot easier to put a picture to it or a video to it. There's two really good videos out there that teach you how to rib stitch. There's one that's like 12 years old and it's from Oshkosh, and there's another one from the polyfiber guy that does it in his workshop, and he does a bit of POV videoing and shows you how to rib stitch. So I'm not going to teach or try and teach anyone how to do it because there's no point. There's other people out there that do that, but I'm just going to show you me doing it. And I think this is the big thing that turns a lot of people off from building a fabric covered aeroplane is, oh, I've got to stitch it, I've got to glue it, I've got to cut it. I'm telling you right now, it's so easy. There's nothing hard about this at all. It's just, learn how to do a few knots, which is so easy from a video. You can learn it in about half an hour like I did. And if you have the right tools for the right job, it's easy. So what you need is a good pair of scissors. You can buy a few different needles from aircraft spruce or polyfiber or myself. I even sell these. But the most popular one that you're going to use is this one. It's got a curved tip on it. Okay? And it's got a little lock there to put the fabric into. I know the camera won't focus, so you probably can't see it that well, but it's just a needle with a little curved tip. You need this, and you need some wax-coated rib stitching. This is the flat version, not the round version. I prefer flat because it's a little bit more discreet on the aircraft parts. And that's it. It's as easy as that. So basically, to kick off, just get enough length. So how I normally do it is whatever the length is of the piece that you're about to stitch, just double it really. So I don't know, I'll go about that much, maybe a little bit more for good luck. That'll do it. Okay? So you want to cut that off. Get this out of the way, you don't need it now. Now I'm going to face the camera down so you can have a better look at what I'm doing. Too far into the video, I would like to give you a look at this. I've done the rudder already. I'll give you a little snapshot now. Okay, so you can see in those few little clips just there, I actually took the rudder here home and I did it at home on my balcony just to watch the sunset and do a bit of stitching. It's like therapy. That's how easy it is, but I'll give you a bit of a look. This is the end result. Turned out really good and it's super easy. So here's the rudder. Covering's done, poly brushes on, put the little fiber tapes on, burn in 80mm increments, 2 little holes on either side, and stitch it. I know the camera is struggling to focus. Yeah, that's terrible. I'll give you a bit of light. There, you can see better there. That's the stitching. Nice and tight. Looks good. Okay. Same on this side. No different. So the rudder's stitched. So now we're up to the elevator. So I'll give you a bit of a look how I do that. I'll do my best to talk you through it. Once again, I'm not a professional. I just happen to know how to do it. So if you want to learn how to do it properly or easier, just watch the YouTube videos. And a good bit of advice I have, if you're learning how to do rib stitching using YouTube to learn, when you go to the settings on YouTube and the playback speed, slow it down to like 0.75 or even 0.50, so the video is real slow. It's very annoying to listen to their voice because they sound like robots, but it's a lot easier to follow along how they're doing the knots and that sort of stuff when the video is slowed right down. That's the best way to learn. So I'll give you a bit of a look of what I do. We'll cover this center one just here of the elevator. So here goes, try keep up if you can. All right, hopefully that's a good enough position. So basically I'm gonna get my needle and a bit of stitching and tie it onto the end just here. So put it through. Doesn't really matter how you do it with this one, just as long as it doesn't come off. I normally just pretend I'm tying a hook onto fishing line or something I like. The wax helps you out anyway, it sort of makes it better. So there you go, tied a little knot. So now the string is attached to my needle. For the little tail piece that's hanging off, just cut it off about there. Okay, there you go. Now, what you've got to do, you've got to do a starter knot. To do a starter knot, it has to be a square knot with basically 2 anchor points on, half hitches on either side to lock it down. So you want to start on the right side. I know on the camera it's going to be the left, but just pretend you're looking at what I'm looking at. It's on the right side here. So we're going to go down and out the bottom through the other hole. So find the hole under there it is, and pull this through. Okay, now I'm going to pull this down until I have a couple inches of tail hanging out, so about that much. It's probably 6 inches or a bit more. Now with the needle, we're going to come back up through the other side, from the bottom to the top. Once again, just going to find the hole. There it is. Okay, pull this all the way up like that. So now you've got the bit that's attached to the needle and you've got the little tail. It's very windy outside, you can probably hear that, I'm sorry. It's very loud in here too. Now, to start off, make sure both of them are pulled up, so now the bottom doesn't have any slack. And you want to basically go right over left, under and through. Okay, so then you just got literally a crisscross, pull it down a little bit, and then left over right, under and through. So you can see now, I've got a bit of a square here in the knot. You can probably just see that on the camera. But that's good, so pull this tight basically. Not all the way tight, but just pull it down. So come down to about there. Get the wax out of the way. Now it's not completely tight, there's still a little bit of play just underneath there, see that bit of gap? So now what you want to do is a half hitch. So with the little tail, we're going to go underneath the loop we just created. So it goes underneath, comes back around, and it goes through this little loop just here. You can pull it just a little bit tight, leave it like that. Now get your needle and go under the whole entire knot, underneath, pull it through, and then the needle has to come back through this big loop on your big tail. Come through and pull it down tight to about there. And now the pieces that are actually attached to the square knot is what you want to pull on next. So that's going to be this one and this one. Pull them as tight as you can without dismantling the whole knot. So that's about as tight as I can get it. You don't have to go crazy, just make it tight. Okay, now with your little loop just here, the little tail that we had, pull that one tight, put your finger on the knot so it doesn't slide. Okay, that's tight, and with this big one here that the needle's attached to, pull it tight. Put your finger on the knot. Okay, now that's locked on there really good. There's no slack on the top and bottom. I'll bring it over and give you a bit of a look. See what I've done there? So we just did a square knot and then a half hitch on the right side, half hitch on the left side, and then we pulled it all tight. So now that's a good start. Alrighty, I'll put the camera back here as best I can. Alright, you can still see a bit there, that's good. I've zoomed in a little bit. Now with the needle, with the tail, sorry, you got an excess tail. So now get your scissors again, leave a little bit so you can play with it, but cut it off about there. Okay, throw out that bit. This little bit that's now sticking out, you just want to tuck it into the hole and hide it, get it out of the way. That also helps when you pull this across, pull it down, it'll nearly do it for you, like it pretty much has. Use your needle to tuck it down. So now there's nothing sticking out, looks nice and tidy. Okay, now get your needle, you want to go back through the top right hole, back in and across up to these holes further towards the back of the elevator. So using the curved tip needle, I'm going to find that hole, it's about there it is coming out of this hole. Pull it through, all the way through. Okay, so now the string's locked off here, it's running through, now it's popped up here. Hold this one across, you want to go through the right side again, the right hole on the right side of the string, from the top back down to the bottom. Once again, find the hole, and you want to pull it down. So you can see what's going on here now, we have a loop coming out of the same hole. Alright, now this one doesn't want to move, this one can pull slack. So you want to keep the one that doesn't move, the one that's attached to this knot up here, keep it away from you. Alright, now through the other side, come back through the bottom, from the bottom back up to the top. Okay, it's coming through, and now you want to go through this loop that we've created. The needle has to go through the middle of the hoop and pull it up. Okay, don't worry about the needle for a bit, put it to the side. Make sure you can pull up this one and pull up the loop, which will tighten the bottom. Now, with 3 or 4 fingers, hold the long stringy bit, get your thumb in the loop, pull it towards you. Okay, so it's pulling up tight on the bottom, and then you want to grab your needle again. All right, and it's going to be really hard for you to actually follow along. I understand that. This is just to show you me doing it. If you want to learn how to do it, just watch the polyfiber videos, they're much better. You want to come through this loop, underneath, through the bottom of the centerpiece, and then over the top of the outer piece. Pull it across, all right? Make sure none of this is tangled. Once it's crossed over the needle like this, pull this tight, and it creates, you can see this is now tied to the elevator. There's a X knot there. Pull that as tight as you can, like that, and now pull the needle through. And now what you want to do, put your finger on the knot and pull it tight. Like so. It's tight on the bottom, it's tight on the top. Pull it across to hide the little knot inside the elevator. Push it down. Get your needle back to help you push it down if needed. It's gone in by itself. Okay, that's another one done. This is called a modified seine knot. Now, repeat the process. Back in through the top right. Up through this one. Pull it all the way through. Hold it to the right, go through the right side, top to bottom, find the hole on the bottom. There it is. Pull it through. From the bottom to the top, keep the anchored one away from you. There it is, coming through. Pull it through. Holding it, thumb in the loop. Get your position, get your needle back. Under this one, over this one, and over this one. Pull the cross knot, pull it tight. Pull the needle through, finger on the knot. Pull it tight, pull it to the right. Tuck it into the hole. Like that. Repeat the process. Top right, pull it through. Back to the top right hole to the bottom. Pull it through. The one that's anchored, keep it away from you. Bottom to top with the needle. Through the loop, pull the needle up. Okay, now this is going to be our finishing knot. So pretty well same thing with a little modification at the end to anchor it. Repeating the same process. Okay, pull your X knot, but now pull it all the way through. And then you want to come back through underneath the loop here. Keep this long tail on this side of the needle so it also goes through the loop. Pull it through, and see that? I've got 2 half hitches on either side. Put your finger on them and pull them down tight. So there you go. 3 stitches there, 4 stitches there, and 4 stitches just here. So as you can see, it's a very easy process. It's a fast process. It doesn't take as long as you think. You know, people think they're going to be stitching the aeroplane for hours on end. It's not like that at all. It's once you realize, it becomes muscle memory. You just get into it. Before you know it, you're done. You're on to the next one. So as you can see, all it is a starter knot. Sorry, starter knot's not called a starter knot. What it is a square knot, right? Which is a very strong starter knot. And then you do half hitches on either side, left and right side of the square knot, which then locks it in place. So that's how you do your starter knot. And then you do a modified seine knot, which is, you know, run it up the side, come through the top, go back through the bottom, back from the bottom to the top, through the loop, and then, you know, weave it through, pull it tight like a cross, and then, you know, that makes no sense, I know, but that's all it is. Continue that, and when you get to the last one, you do the exact same thing, except you do a little half hitch on the end of it to finish it off, basically. So it just locks off the knot, basically. It locks off the already locked knot. It's super easy. So in the description of this video, if you want to learn how to do rib lacing, I'll put 2 good links to YouTube videos. I learnt how to do this in America. I also did a bit of YouTube research, but mostly in America. And it's seriously, it's super easy. So, you know, if you're thinking about building a kit plane and it's a fabric aeroplane, don't let the rib stitching intimidate you or turn you off. It's so easy. It really annoys me when I hear people say, oh, the fabric scares me and it looks hard and all that. It's seriously, it's not. You're being turned off over a really silly reason. You know, kit planes in general are super easy to build. You know, that's why they're a kit. There's instruction manuals, just follow them and they go together. But the fabric part, it's so damn easy. Anyway, that's enough on that. I'm a bit emotional about that topic, so I hear it all the time. So, you know, what's next after rib stitching? So, if you have to do rib stitching, basically you want to put your poly brush down, and then you want to put the excuse me, then you want to put the fiber tape down, which protects the fabric from the stitching, pulling it, just so it doesn't chafe. That's all it does. And then you want to stitch it. So then stitch your fabric. Once it's done, then it's time for your finishing tapes. So basically, what I need to do now on this area here that's stitched on the elevator, basically I need to get my poly brush out now, more of the poly brush that I did this with, and I just need to do, you know, 1 or 2 more layers over the top of this here now that the stitching's on, let that dry, and then for my second coat, I'll lay it down, and while it's still wet, I'll get my finishing tapes and I'll lay them down nice and straight, and then I'll get more poly brush again and I'll paint over the top of the tape, and that's how you secure the tapes. So we're going to do all the longer on parts, like front to back parts first, and then you do the perimeter, which then locks off the start and finish of the finishing tapes, if that makes sense. So for example, a horizontal stabilizer just here, see how it's got extra coats on where the ribs are? So that's just an undercoat, and then what I'll do, I'll get another wet coat, I'll go over it again, I'll put my finishing tape down, and then I'll go over it again, and yeah, that's your finishing tapes. So once that's done, that's your covering pretty much done. Then it comes down to spraying stuff on. So the next process is to then get the same stuff out, poly brush, but instead of brushing the poly brush on, you spray poly brush on, and you need to do 2 coats of that. You mix it up the same with the same amount of reducer and all that, except this time you're putting it in a spray gun. Spray it on, it's easy stuff to spray, and once you're happy with it and it's all sealed up, then it's time to get the poly spray out, which is your silver, which also has, you know, UV resistance in it, aluminium paste, sort of stuff. I've actually got a bag of aluminium paste just here, so that's tiny little particles of aluminium sand, basically, and it protects fabric against UV. So yeah, spray on enough poly brush, so if you get a light bulb on the other side of this fabric, you can't see anything through. If you can't see anything through, that means that there's enough protectant on the fabric that the sun's not going to eat it alive when the airplane's out in the weather. That also becomes your primer. So, and you know, sorry, I skipped a step. Then you want to lightly wet sand it back and get all the imperfections off. Spray it again if you have to, but you know, sand it back, spray it once you're happy. Then you can paint your aeroplane. It's as simple as that. It's just an undercoat basically, but it's also UV protectant, and it fills in a lot of voids and all that. But you know, fabric's not intimidating. It's so easy, super easy. Also, while we're on the topic of fabric, had a delivery this morning. It come 2 days later than expected. That's okay. It happens. So I can get back to work now because this was at my front door this morning. That's 25 yards of polyester fabric, medium. In the very top just here, you can see I've got 2-inch bias tapes they've also put there. The rest of it is a big roll of fabric. So yeah, I've got no excuse now. It's full steam ahead. I can cover my wings, I can cover the rest of the fuselage and gear legs. Yeah, I've got bias tape, so all of my curvature pieces, I can do a really nice job of those. Yeah. So no more excuses on waiting on fabric now, it's here. I just reached another little milestone with this kit build. So everything that goes onto the tailplane is now covered, polybrushed and stitched. So there you go. On obviously top and bottom sides. How good's that? So for the elevator, I just did that entire elevator stitching in pretty much 1 hour exactly. The rudder I did last night at home, and it turned out really good. It was very therapeutic. I probably did that in, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours. So, you know, allow 3 hours for tailplane stitching and that's it, you can move on. The so-called big scary bit is done. Rib stitchings, like I said earlier and many times, is super easy. I think it would be very hard if the rib lacing wasn't coated in wax. It makes life so easy that it slides nicely without gripping up and locking on because of the wax that's coated on it. So yeah, get yourself a good wax covered flat rib lacing and you'll be able to do this nice and easily. What's it mean now? Well, it's time to mix up some polybrush brush over all of the rib lacing, and you know, get the iron out as well. Iron out any more little creases that I find. I definitely will, you always do. I'd love to see someone that doesn't. And then, yeah, finishing tape time. So yeah, tailplanes are pretty well ready for spraying and then paint. We're actually following along from build 1 all the way up to, what are we at now, 15. You'll know that I've always mentioned I don't like scattering the work. I like to keep everything up to the same level. So covering everything I want to be covered, and then everything I want to be stitched, and then everything I want to be polybrushed, and then everything I want finishing tapes, and so on. You get what I'm getting at. So what's it mean now? It means I'm not going to get in, you know, I know I just said I'm going to mix up some polybrush. I'm actually not going to do that because I forgot. Now that I've got my fabric here, what I'm going to do is finish covering the fuselage. I'm going to do one final very thorough inspection on the internals of the airframe, all of the linkages, all that sort of stuff. Make sure it's nice and clean, everything's oiled and all the rest, because I'm about to lose a lot of access to this airframe. So what I'll do now is, yeah, move the airplane across so I've got more working room, and I'm going to cover the left side of the fuselage and then the top. So I hope you've enjoyed the skeleton, or the airframes, not the airframes, the airframe, because yeah, this is the last time that you're ever going to see it like this. So it's been good. Time to move on and progress into the build.